Hello and welcome to Hindsighting, where we discuss all the movies to win the Best Picture Oscar and try to figure out if this picture truly is the best or is time rendered a different verdict. I'm Edward Clow. My guest today is a Union Local 706 beauty and special effects makeup artist. She trained with her father, Emmy Award-winning makeup artist John R. Bayless. She does makeup and hair for feature films, short films, commercials, print, and headshots. Her favorite genre is horror, and her favorite holiday is Halloween, all of which is why I want to welcome Ali Bayless to Hindsighting. Welcome.
Hi, thank you.
This episode is part of our new mini-series, 1981ers, where we examine a single movie from 1981, and today we're looking at An American Werewolf in London, which actually did receive an Oscar for Best Makeup. So, the reason I wanted to do this series is because I have a theory that 1981 might be the best movie year ever. There are at least 19 movies that are incredible, and only 2 of them got Academy recognition. Like Raiders of the Lost Ark, biggest hit of the year. They got nominated for Best Picture, and yeah. But most of them were not in major awards consideration, or they'd have like a scant Best Actor or Best Actress nomination. And you know, today's movie won an Oscar, and we're gonna get into, you know, why I want to talk to you about it when we get into the movie. But do you have any relationship to 1981 specifically, or 1980s horror, if we can throw it wider, if you're more comfortable with that?
Oh man. Well, you were talking about like going to the video store. I remember I was born in 86, but I remember as a kid going anytime I had a sleepover or a friend stay the night, it was horror. I wanted to watch a horror movie.
Yeah.
And the section at Blockbuster, the best horror movies were from the 80s, the 70s, late 70s and the 80s.
Right.
That was always where I gravitated to. So I mean, I feel a very strong connection to horror movies from the 80s. And just watching like I watched a lot of these horror movies probably way too young. But my dad being in the industry and being a makeup artist, you know, it was more like a lesson when I would watch these movies. It would be an explanation of how they would do things, and it didn't really scare me because of that, you know. But yeah, just hearing you talk about walking through the video store as a kid, I had a very visceral moment there where I like could see myself in Blockbuster looking at the VHS tapes, and it was usually the artwork or the picture on the cover
Yeah.
that drew me, you know, to rent it or you know.
Yeah, I think that's really interesting because, and you're also touching on something, little micro digression, is the posters for these movies were so beautiful for all movies. I mean, they were painted, and I think that's one thing this is a rant I actually haven't done on this show because it hasn't really come up, but I think movie posters kind of suck now, and it's not because the artists don't exist. It's because, you know, it's just the actors' faces, and they're kind of bland. And if you look at posters for any movie we're talking about, you know, in this 1981 series, the posters are just beautiful because they were paintings. They were art. They were like, I've never seen, I'm sure you have, I've never seen the horror movie Fright Night, but I think that poster is so beautiful. Yeah. It's so beautiful. I'm sure that's a big movie for you. It's a gap for me. And what's interesting is I'm not a huge horror guy. There are maybe 10 to 15 horror movies. I have a list on Letterboxd. I'll just plug it now. Of my
I want to hear your list.
Yeah, well, I'll give you my list. Yeah,
I don't know how I would fit 10 in a 10 list. Like I that would be so hard.
This is sort of the interesting thing because you are a horror lover, a horror expert, just because of your love for it, and it's a genre that I'm, you know. Well, let's talk about this. What do you consider a horror movie? What are the things that separate a horror movie from just a thriller? Because I've gotten into this argument with horror fans a lot where I'll name certain movies that I consider to be horror. And I may get into this argument with you right now, and other people will be like, dude, that's a great movie, but it's not a horror movie. You know, or that's a great movie, but so yeah, what makes a horror movie for you?
You know, that's hard. I feel like I'm pretty open. I will say my all-time favorite movie ever is Jurassic Park, and I would not consider that a horror movie.
I wouldn't either, actually.
but there are horror elements.
Absolutely.
Um, there's some great jump scares in that movie. There's
Yes.
some gore, you know. Um, but gosh, I guess what makes it a horror movie, I mean, my brain always goes to like the makeup.
Yeah.
You know, how gross are we getting? Like, I feel like the difference between a thriller and a horror is maybe the horror shows more
Hmm.
versus a thriller is like you're afraid of what you're not seeing, maybe.
I like that. I think that's a great distinction.
Maybe.
Yeah, so these are the 10 horror movies. And these aren't the only 10, but these are my 10 horror movies. And I think
Okay.
2 or 3 of these, I'm curious if you'd bump on 2 or 3 of these not being horror, regardless of whether or not you
Okay.
like them. Don't want to put you on the
Okay.
spot, but here's my list because I made a list a long time ago, and today's movie is on it. So,
Okay.
okay, so just go through it pretty quickly, 10 to 1. Number 10 for me is It Follows. No,
Oh, great horror movie.
okay, good.
Chef's kiss.
Yes,
Music, score. I feel like the score really in that movie is just so beautiful and eerie and
yes,
makes you feel things, you
yes.
know?
Okay, good.
Um, yeah, keep going.
Good, good. So far we're good. Ali has approved my first one. A couple of these are slam dunk horror movies. There's 3 on here I think you're gonna maybe bump on. Okay.
Okay.
This one I think will be a slam dunk. Number 9, Poltergeist.
Yes. God, that is such a rewatchable for me. I go back and rewatch that one probably almost every year around Halloween.
And I've seen it kind
It's
of
such a classic.
yeah, I've seen it kind of recently, I'm embarrassed to say. I only saw it I think in the last year. It was always a gap for me.
Okay.
Yeah, so that's a recent I mean it follows it 10 years ago, but yeah, Poltergeist is the thing. It's not a recent movie, but uh
Oh, good. I'm glad you've seen Poltergeist. It is a classic,
yeah.
and so many new movies have ripped from it. And you
Yes.
know, it's just
Yeah.
it's a really that's a solid horror movie for sure.
Cool. Number 8 for me is Rosemary's Baby.
Yes.
Okay.
Yes. Yes. Literally watched that movie the night before I found out I was pregnant with my son. That is such a good movie.
Yes.
Solid acting, solid directing,
Yes.
really great script.
Yeah.
Yeah, that is a definite horror movie for sure.
Okay.
For sure.
Number 7, The Shining.
Yes.
Okay, I'm on a
Yes. I recently went to the hotel. I did a job at the hotel that Stephen King stayed at that inspired him to write that whole movie.
Oh, not the
It's in
one they
Colorado.
use okay, but not the one they use for exteriors. Not
Correct. This one's in Colorado called the Stanley Hotel, and it's so creepy. It's
wow.
beautiful. Yeah, yeah,
Interesting.
that's a great yeah, that's definitely a horror movie for sure,
Okay.
for
I
sure.
think the closer we get to the top, the more trouble I'm gonna get in, but let's see. Number 6
Uh-oh.
is obvious, An American Werewolf in London, which we're about to talk about.
Mhm,
She's giving me
mhm.
a thumbs up.
Yes,
Okay.
yes.
Uh, Number 5, this has gotta be a lodestar for you makeup-wise, The Thing.
Oh my god. I still remember the first time I saw that, it was with my dad. You're talking about the
82.
1980
82, yeah.
82, yes.
Yeah.
Okay, because there is one before
I
that.
know, and that one's good, but I'm talking
That
about
one's
the
good, but
82.
it's not the same.
No.
Rob Bottin did the makeup, and it's like, I still to this day, and this goes right on par with American Werewolf. It's like I watch those 2 movies and the makeup effects,
Yeah.
I'm just like,
Yeah.
they hold up.
Yeah.
They're beautiful. They blow your mind.
Yeah. We're gonna talk
Um,
about Bottin and Rick Baker a lot, in this episode.
so
Uh,
talented.
Number 4, Alien.
Oh, dude, that's like one of my number ones.
Okay.
One of my number ones.
Okay.
I love that. Okay, I know that that is one that a lot of people argue about
Yeah.
because it's science fiction. It's also somewhat of a thriller, but I consider it a horror
So
movie.
do I. I mean, it is science fiction in that they're on a spaceship and it's in the future. I think
Right.
that one does kind of straddle a line where if you wanted to say Alien was one of the great science fiction movies, I wouldn't argue. But if you want to say it's one of the
Right.
great horror movies, I mean, that one might actually, more than anything on this list, might actually be sort of a hybrid where it's got a foot in each camp. But I still would call it a horror movie before I would call it a science fiction movie, but for the fact that they're on a
A
spaceship
spaceship.
and I don't even know
Yeah.
what year it is, but it's obviously not our world, not our time.
Yeah. Yeah.
Okay, these top 3, even though I'm pretty sure you're a fan of all 3, is we might get in trouble. Let's see. We're gonna push my luck with you. Number 3, Seven.
Oh, dude. No, that's a horror movie for sure.
Wow, look at this. Awesome.
Yeah. I mean, what else would it be? A thriller?
I
Would it be argued as a thriller?
I think some people, and again, the people who I argue with, no one's arguing that it's not a good movie. I think that Seven is a police procedural until Sloth, until the guy's tied to the
Okay.
bed, and then it becomes a
Sure.
horror movie. And you know, so I think it starts as I think it switches
Gluttony
genres a
is
bit.
pretty gross. The first isn't Gluttony first, if I'm
Yes,
remembering correctly?
yes.
I mean, that's pretty gnarly.
So
The
maybe it's a horror
guy
movie right from the beginning. Maybe you're right.
it definitely slides into the horror category, for sure.
All right.
Another one, again, revisit probably every year or so. It's that movie still scares me. I
Yeah,
watch it and I feel ick,
yeah.
you know?
Rob Bottin again.
Yeah,
Yeah.
yeah.
Last 2. My number 2, Psycho.
Yes, recently rewatched that with my husband. He had never seen it,
Oh wow.
which is crazy. And he loved it. He's a DP, so it's interesting to watch it with him from
Oh, he's a
like
DP. That's
the
awesome.
camera perspective. But yeah, I mean that is one of the OG horror movies. You
Yeah, I think it's the
know,
first slasher movie. Yeah, I mean
yeah,
it's
probably the first slasher.
yeah,
If right? I
yeah.
mean, what would be before that?
I mean, it's a beautiful blonde getting killed, and
Yeah,
it's women in danger, and yeah, I think it's all kind of there. I mean, there were horror movies before that, which is what sort of inspired
right.
him. But and then my last one, my favorite horror movie of all time is Jaws.
Absolutely. It's a perfect movie in my opinion.
Yes.
It's so good. The
Yeah.
score is so good.
Yeah.
Like I feel like any movie that when you hear the music, you don't notice it, but it makes you feel things. It's that is like the perfect combination for me.
Yeah.
And the soundtrack is iconic for
Yeah. I mean,
that.
it's probably the most effective film score in movie history. And if it's not
Wow.
Jaws, then it's probably Psycho. It's like one of those
Yes.
two.
Yeah.
I'd probably give it to Jaws by a nose, just in terms of like the ubiquity and sort of like everybody knows it. I mean, Psycho's been
Right.
a bit reduced to but that is the score. Maybe they're both reduced to just their notes, but yeah, Jaws obviously we don't have to stand for it, but so let's move on to An American Werewolf in London. But first, a few stats. I think you'll like all this, by the way, Ali, because this is all right up your street. Due to the controversial lack of recognition for the Elephant Man in 1980, makeup and industry technological contributions became recognized by the Academy Awards in this year, 1981. Rick Baker was the first makeup artist to receive an Oscar in this new category. William Tuttle was the first makeup effects artist to receive an honorary Oscar for his work on The Seven Faces of Dr. Lau in 1964. Do you know that movie?
I don't know that movie.
Okay.
Dr. Lau.
Seven Faces of Dr. Lau. I don't know it either. Maybe that's something for your list.
Yeah.
At 31, Baker was also the youngest person to win the award. This is a record that was later tied by Tammy Lane, who won for The Chronicles of Narnia, The Lion, the Witch, and the Wardrobe back in 2005. So
Wow.
they both were 31 when they won.
Which is crazy.
Yeah.
Ah.
So Rick Baker claimed to have been disappointed by the amount of time spent shooting the face-changing shot for the transformation after having spent months working on the mechanism. John Landis only required one take, lasting about 7 seconds. Baker felt he'd wasted his time until seeing the film with an audience that applauded during that 1 7-second shot. Interesting, huh?
I did know that, and I know that feeling.
This movie was reportedly filmed in sequence, which is really interesting. They shot this in order.
Yeah.
That's
I think that I remember Rick saying about something about the hair. They did the most hair that he has first and then removed hair, like pulled it off,
right.
which he said was easier process for makeup. Which I'm like, I could understand that.
Have you talked to him? Have you met him?
No, I watched videos, and I just finished reading the Dick Smith book.
Oh wow.
Which is who was Rick Baker's like makeup god. Dick Smith is actually nicknamed the Godfather of makeup because he did the makeup on The Godfather, and he came up with so many new ways of doing things.
Mm.
And Rick met him when he was very young. Rick just wrote him a letter, and like Dick Smith responded and was like, "Hey, next time you're in New York, come to my house in Larchmont, and we'll have a day."
Mm.
And Rick came to his house, and Dick Smith spent the whole day with him.
Oh, that's
And
amazing.
I think Rick was like just out of school, out of high school. He was very young. But yeah, it's crazy.
That is crazy. This is one of 2 werewolf films to win the Academy Award for Best Makeup. Rick Baker won both of them, the second one being for The Wolfman in 2010.
Mhm.
Um, the title of the porn movie, See You Next Wednesday, is a trademark of John Landis's work. It's actually a line from 2001. You remember that line in 2001 where he's having the video call with his parents? It's not
Uh-huh.
Dave, it's the other one. I forget his name, Frank. And they say, "See you next Wednesday." And
Oh, funny.
and you see it in posters like billboards in Trading Places and Coming to America, Blues Brothers, Kentucky Fried Movie. It's even in the opening of Thriller. That's the movie that Michael Jackson and his date are going to see. It's called See You Next Wednesday.
Oh,
So
how funny. Oh
that
my God.
that's like his Red Apple cigarettes. This movie grossed $30 million, which made it the 11th highest grossing movie of 1981. So this movie was a hit,
Wow.
which not all these movies were. Right from the beginning, this movie's really creepy. Just those static shots of the moors and
Yeah.
the somebody said on Letterboxd that this movie was like a dare to see how many songs with the word moon in the title we can squeeze into 97 minutes,
Oh my
including.
God, the score is the music is so good in this movie.
Well, it's interesting because there is an original score, but it's only 7 minutes long, but it's Elmer Bernstein, and
Oh,
a little of it goes such a long way because there's only 7 minutes of score, and it's pretty much confined
uh-huh.
to, like, the dream sequences, with David running in the
Yes.
forest and stuff, but most of this movie is needle drops, and that's such a dangerous thing. I talk a lot about needle drops on this show, but Landis does it so perfectly because he picks the perfect things, like the songs aren't scary, but he's using them in a scary way, like the
Yeah.
CCR and like Sam Cooke and all this stuff, which is funnily
Yeah.
that kind of music is all over his early movies. It's like the soundtrack to this doesn't sound unlike Animal House or the Blues Brothers or Trading Places.
Sure.
So he definitely likes this kind of music. But I mean, this for me is his best movie in a fucking walk.
Yeah,
I
I
mean,
agree.
and he himself has said this is the movie he's most proud of.
Yeah.
Um, I mean, and I like a lot of his movies, but I mean, if I were to
Which
rank
is
them, this would be 1 and number 2 would be like way down here, even though I would probably
it,
like it.
and it was so early in his career,
Yeah.
which is so crazy.
Yeah, this is
Yeah.
4 or 5 movies in. He had just so yeah, let's talk about where he is. So he did a movie I like. Do you know the movie The Kentucky Fried Movie? Have you ever seen this movie?
I haven't seen it, but I've heard of it. Yeah.
Okay, so the Kentucky Fried Movie was directed by him, but written by Abraham Zucker, the guys who went on to
Okay.
make Airplane. And it's like a really low budget movie from the late 70s, and it's a lot of sketches. So it's almost like it's like an anthology movie, but it's like instead of a lot of stories, it's a lot of sketches. It's really crass, but really funny. But because it's sketch oriented, it's kind of hit and miss. Like some things are better than others. Off
Okay.
that, he gets Animal House, which was one of the biggest hits of the year.
You.
Huge
Yeah.
hit. He does
So fun.
yeah, he does Blues Brothers, which, I kind of have a funny relationship with because I think that movie's fun, but not exactly watchable. It's like
Mhm.
a lot of good moments, but off the back of those 2, he makes this. And he'd written this script in like the late 60s and
Yeah.
always wanted to make this, and this is where he has the most juice to make this movie. Because he's coming off 2 or 3 hits, and yeah, so that's kind of where we are with Landis. But what's interesting about this movie and what I love about it is that this movie's really scary, but it's also really funny, and I think the comedy makes this movie scarier.
Oh, 100%. And the music, I feel like exactly what you were saying, like pairing these upbeat, fun songs with like the whole transition scene that he has
Yeah, we'll
with
we'll get to
Blue.
that. Yeah.
Like it's just it's weird. It's funny, but it's weird,
Yeah.
you know?
We were talking about Jaws a second ago, and I do feel like this scene where the guys are on the moor is on that
Mhm.
Jaws level. There's no greater movie opening than Jaws, but I do feel like
Right.
the opening, I mean, really the entire opening, like them going into the pub and their interaction with the locals and them walking. And what I think makes it so scary is the fact that these guys seem real and
Yeah.
and I really love I think David Naughton's very good in this movie, but I really love Griffin Dunn, and I'd seen
He's
Griffin Dunn in so many things be made after this. After
Uh-huh.
Hours is one of my favorite movies, and
Yeah.
I think the energy that Griffin Dunn brings to this, and David Naughton too, to be fair, makes it so real because 'cause they're just like these kids, basically. I think they're in college.
College
Yeah.
kids, yeah, hanging out.
Yeah, and I think there's just so much like, as great as the filmmaking is, I think they bring such a nervous energy to it. I mean, you also gotta credit, Christine Backlany, who was the woman in Jaws who gets eaten, who was a stunt woman, but, I mean, her
Yeah.
performance is so incredible, even though it's, like, 2 minutes long, because that's what makes that scene scary. I mean, we
Oh,
have
it
to credit.
stays with you.
Yeah. Yeah, I mean, I
Yeah.
I I remember seeing that woman getting eaten, and her
Oh,
screaming is what traumatized me as much as anything else. Um,
yeah.
so yeah, I kind of want to shout out the actors early because there's a very high chance that they get kind of lost in this discussion of this movie. But
They have such good chemistry, those 2, and I feel
yeah,
like that's what sells it too. Like,
yeah,
they feel like they have history,
yeah,
they've been friends for years,
yeah.
they're on this backpacking trip, they're just yeah. It feels very real, exactly what you were saying.
And you see the thing that you see in shittier late 70s, early 80s horror movies where it's like, oh, the horny teens, like these
Mhm.
guys are like they're young kids and Jack is talking about how he wants to sleep with this girl who like and his friends like she's a jerk. Like, what do you like her?
Yeah,
And he's just like, oh, come on, I've been, he's like, you've wanted to be with this girl since 8th grade. So you're getting like,
right.
oh, these guys are like lifelong friends and they're really close, but you're getting like that thing of like the horny teen, even if it's not consummated, I mean, these tropes far better than I do, but it's just done so elegantly here. I think that's the thing I
Yeah,
like
it's
about
not in
this.
your face.
Yeah,
Yeah.
I think what I like so much about this movie in general is it's elegant. It's like grown up and elegant, and it doesn't. I mean, it does. It's I don't know. That's the thing that I think horror can be a very maligned genre because now we have low budget horror movies that are incredible. Like
Yes,
we have low budget horror movies where the low budget part of it could even make it scarier. Like a lot
right.
of people were really frightened by Blair Witch because it was so low budget and those actors largely
Oh,
remain
dude.
no named and you know and I think the thing I love about horror is kind of horror fans because horror fans it's their concept first. They only care what the movie is about. They don't give a
Yeah.
shit who's in it. They only care about like, "Oh, that sounds like a cool concept. I wanna see that." And I really wish all the other genres were that way. I really
Sure.
wish that people
Yeah.
would say, "Oh, I wanna see that comedy because it sounds funny," or "I wanna see that love story because it sounds romantic," not because so
So
and
and
so's
so's
in
in it
it.
or yeah,
And I'm not
yeah.
anti-movie star at all, but I do think that, this movie's a great example of that because even retroactively, David Naughton didn't become like a big star. So like you still have I mean Griffin Dunn's a familiar face, but you could still go into
Right.
this movie 45 years later and look at it and be like, "Oh, I don't know these guys. Like no one in this movie is safe." And I think that's a key thing with the casting.
Yeah, no one is safe.
Yeah.
I love
And I think
that.
that's what I want from a horror movie where as stressful as it is, I want to feel like no one is safe and I want to feel like I'm not safe. Meaning like anything could happen. Even though I hate it in the moment, like I'm stressed out in the moment. I don't know if you feel that way or if you're just exhilarated. I'm thinking probably the latter.
No, I love feeling like I'm in their shoes. I feel like, especially in these first scenes where they're on the moors, I was noticing some of the camera work. The camera work in this movie is great, by the way.
Absolutely.
There's there's a lot of like handheld stuff that's going on, which makes it feel like we're walking with these guys.
Yeah.
A lot of like uncomfortable, intense, POV shots. It's just I agree with you. Like I want to feel like I'm with them and sharing this experience, which is exhilarating but also terrifying. And I think that's what makes it so good.
Yeah. Yeah, this
You
opening
know?
yeah, and what's great about the opening is that, like, it has this kind of antic energy because, like, we see them walk off the path, but, like,
Mhm.
it's kind of a
They don't
wide shot. They don't know,
they
and
don't acknowledge it.
well, because
Yeah.
they're just not noticing it, because
Yeah.
and and what I love yeah, and so it's like, "Oh, but he doesn't call attention to it. It's like, he doesn't
Right.
show a close-up of their feet walking off the road onto the moor. You could be forgiven for not catching it because they're just walking and talking, and it
Mhm.
starts to rain. I mean, you could see why it happened because it starts to rain, it's pitch dark. I mean, it's
Yeah.
obviously more light. We're seeing them better than they probably could see out there. It's probably
Totally.
way darker. If you were Jack or David, you probably can only see each other and not even in great light. But I think that
Right.
that's kind of it's like an old trope where it's like, you wouldn't be able to see anything out in the ocean in Jaws either. In the beginning, it would be pitch black out there. But he's
Right.
showing he's
Right.
showing you that blue light so that we could see it, to be really obvious about it.
What
But
is it what is it that makes them realize there's like a thunderclap and then
they
do they hear
hear
the
the
howl?
they hear the howl.
Which is so terrifying. I
Yeah.
can hear that sound in my head right now.
Yeah.
I don't know. I should have looked this up, but I don't know what the clip is, the sound bite is, or whatever.
Mhm.
But it is iconic and it is seared into my brain. The way that wolf sounds, the werewolf sounds. It's so good.
Yeah, it's great sound design, and again, the acting kinda sells it because they a typical sort of, like, dig on, horror movies is that the bad ones is where the characters don't react like smart people would. Like that thing of like, why would you run upstairs if a guy
When
with
you
a
can
with
close the front door.
yeah, like with a guy with a hook is chasing you, like don't go to a confined room upstairs. But I love again the acting really sells it where he's like, oh shit, David, what is that? Like they're scared, but you're still seeing their personalities. It's like okay, this is fucked up. We can get through this, and this is
Yeah.
obviously pre. They don't have cell phones or anything. Even if they did, it wouldn't work. I mean, I'm sure you could stand in that
Right.
spot now, and your cell phone would be worthless. It wouldn't work at
Nothing.
all.
Yeah.
So it's very very relatable, and they don't even do anything stupid to get in that situation. Like they're thrown out of that pub because they
Yeah.
ask a question,
Yeah.
and they're in trouble because the woman's like, "Don't let them be on the road at night," and the guy's like, "They don't deserve to be here." So that stuff is all so creepy, and again, kind of played for laughs a little bit when they're in the pub because it's like, but it's so creepy. I mean, Landis has said, and he's such an acolyte of like the old Universal horror movies. He's clearly, and I think vociferously in interviews and things, loves those old horror movies. And it's
Mhm.
even the
Yeah.
Wolfman is even name checked. I mean, Jack says, "Oh yeah,
Yes.
Lon Chaney, Universal, 1930, whatever." I'm sorry, I don't know the actual quote, but I like that because it's almost like Tarantino before Tarantino, where like he's riffing on a genre that he loves, but he's moving it forward because obviously
Right.
they could not do the makeup back in the 30s that they're doing here. Um,
Right.
so let's
Right.
so then let's talk about the first time. I mean, the first sort of kill in this movie. This wolf comes and kills Griffin Dunn, and
Yeah.
it's terrifying. The thing I always forget is that when the wolf is shot and David looks over and it's a guy,
A
like
guy. Yeah.
so they're I always forget that part that like yeah, they're not really hiding the ball at all. They're really showing you that like, oh no, this was a fucking guy who turned
Yeah.
into this thing, and that's now what's going to happen.
I mean,
Yeah.
the kill is great. The first kill is great. We don't really see a lot of the werewolf, which I think is smart.
Yeah.
Because it kind of feeds into the chaos of it all and the confusion of what is happening.
Mhm.
Um, and we just kind of see Griffin laying there. We just see a lot of blood. We don't really get to see too much detail here,
Right.
which I think is nice for when we see him come back as his ghost for the first time.
Yeah.
And we really see in
What happened to him?
bright light and detail. The makeup is just beautiful.
Yeah. Let's get into the
Jumping a little
makeup.
far
Yeah,
ahead.
let's not dance
Okay.
around it. No, I mean, I could talk about the movie all day long, but I mean, I have you here, and I really want to talk about the makeup. So I had one thing. I'm curious. The second or third, there's a dream sequence. I think it's the second one where you see David in the hospital bed, and then he opens his eyes.
Mhm.
He's got like the green eyes and the fangs,
Oh, the
the
teeth.
teeth.
Yeah.
So I'm sure you know this, but our audience probably doesn't. So you know who was a big fan of this movie when it came out? Michael Jackson. And
Oh,
I
yes.
think you
The
know where I'm going
thriller.
with this. Yes. So he
Yes.
hired John Landis to direct Thriller,
Uh-huh.
and John Landis brought with him the cinematographer, the composer, Rick Baker, and his
Yep.
wife, who is his costume designer. His wife, Deborah
Mhm.
Noodleman, was his costume designer. And this same year, she also does the costumes for Raiders of the Lost Ark. It's a pretty good year
Oh,
for
I didn't
her.
know that. That's
Yes. And she's
cool.
nominated for an
Wow.
Oscar for the costumes for Coming to America.
Oh,
Um,
wow.
yeah, so she is his costume designer for I think most of his career. But yeah, you really do see just in that shot with the green eyes and the fangs. I was like, oh, Thriller. You know, like
Yeah.
this is like the seeds of Thriller. Um, so yeah, that's something that just kind of jumped out at me. Probably the last time I watched it, I think I saw the same thing. I was like, oh man, this really is like Thriller. There's so many things about this movie that are scary, but I always sort of forget about the thing in this movie that's fucking insane, and that's his nightmare where the monsters in Nazi helmets come into his house with the machine guns. And I mean, let's talk. I mean, that's some makeup there. What do you think about that?
No, those are all masks, and
Oh,
my
they're
dad
masks.
actually had one. The I think they made, like, 4 or 5. As far as I know, Rick sculpted them, and my dad somehow, back in the day, was friends with somebody that had a prop house, and he gifted my dad one, and I have vivid memories of seeing this Nazi zombie, mask in my dad's makeup studio on the
Oh
wall.
my god.
And always just being like, what is that from? It's so scary. And, later in life, seeing the movie and being able to, correlate the two. But yeah, they were all masks. Slip latex, I believe, is what they use to just make them.
But Baker still
And they're
designed
terrifying.
them though, right? He still designed the masks.
Baker did. As far as we know, yes. But yeah, they were all just wearing masks. But absolutely terrifying. That scene is so scary
Yeah.
because it's so unexpected. It's almost a jump scare, you know.
Well,
Um,
yeah. And then he does a thing that could have been such a drag, but he does it so well. Is where he wakes up in the hospital and he's like, "Oh, I had a nightmare." And Jenny Agutter opens the blinds, and then one of those guys kills her. It's so yeah, it's a dream within a dream, which could be such a groaner if done badly, as it often is.
yeah, it's a good one. It's done very well.
Very,
Yeah.
very well because because you totally believe that he's still awake. You know, there's nothing strange about it. You know, you've been in that room already. He's established that space. It's daytime. I think it's another great thing
Yep.
about the fact that it's like there's daylight coming through those curtains. I think, right?
Yeah.
And
Yeah.
then
Yeah. No, you're right.
yeah, and I think that's a great thing. It's that like if you can the misdirection of a jump scare is such a magic trick. And
Yes.
you know, I could do an entire podcast just on jump scares, but in the horror movies I ran down, all my favorite jump scares are in those movies. The best one ever for me is Jaws, where the head pops up out of the bottom of the boat. That to me
Yes.
is that got my
Still gets
daughter.
me.
Yeah.
It still gets me.
And you saw the head in the museum, right? They actually have it there.
Yeah. 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 Very
And
cool.
another one is in 7 when Sloth, they think they're finding a dead body.
Oh, he's dead, and he's coughs or whatever, and he's
Yeah.
alive. Yeah.
That
Oh my god.
and I was like 17 years old when I saw that. I wasn't like a little kid. I mean, I was like
Right.
and I had a hard time sleeping that night. Um
Scary.
and that's why I call it a horror movie. Um yeah. Oh, so let's get right to so in the hospital we also see Jack for the first time, like you were talking about. and his face is shredded. And there's a detail that I know you twigged the first time you probably saw this, given that your dad is in makeup as well. The little flap on his
Big
neck
flap.
that's still going.
Oh, so good.
I mean, that's not an accident. I'm sure they could have had that not there, or like pasted it down. I love that
Yeah,
detail.
I think it was a beautiful thing that just happened. I remember listening to Rick talk about it in an interview, and it was just the foam was very wet, and so it just kind of had this lovely little weight to it. So when Griffin would talk, it would move. Um, and apparently Griffin was not that into the makeup. I don't know if you knew this. I remember they did a test and
Mhm.
he saw himself and he was a little like, oh, I
Yeah,
don't know if I'm into this. It's a lot. And I'm sure it's also a little unnerving seeing yourself dead and mauled for the first time.
that's what it was. He put out a book last year that I highly recommend called The Friday Afternoon Club, and it's a
Oh, okay.
memoir, and it only goes to like about he's like 35 years old, but um it's really an incredible memoir. I mean, it's got a very dark, his sister is in Poltergeist. She's the older daughter. I don't know if you know this, Dominique Dunn,
Oh my
and
God, that's right. Yeah.
she was murdered like right when the
Yes.
movie came out. Poltergeist there's 3 deaths not connected to the
Oh,
production.
we should do that movie. I would do that. I would love to do that movie with you. There's so much cool stuff.
Maybe we can. But he talks a lot about, and American Werewolf in London is before that, but he talked a lot about just how physically hard it was because, this is very early makeup in terms of the process, like how many hours. I'm sure however many hours he did is probably cut to like a third now. Just in terms of
Oh,
like,
no, 100%.
yeah,
Yeah.
so just like the body casting and all that stuff that you can speak to far better than I can. But yeah, he did. I think his mother, when she saw the movie, couldn't handle it, less because of the gore, but more because she was seeing her son
Good.
killed, and then obviously not knowing what was going ahead. But what I love about the makeup, I guess to kind of simplify it is, maybe to oversimplify it is, what's incredible to me about the makeup as a layman, as far as makeup is concerned, is it doesn't change the shape of his head. Like they don't make his head bigger to like put
Right.
things on. It really looks like they're like those gashes are going into his face. You know what I'm saying? Like it doesn't, if you look at him pre and post, he's not like, they don't make him like heavier like the way I think they might have like even 10 years earlier. And so it just looks so real, and it's obviously very tactile. You could like touch it, and I mean not you could, you could like sort of like, it's not being done digitally, which wasn't an
Right.
option
Right.
then. But I just love the fact that like he looks, I mean, he looks realistic. It looks like we see him get attacked by this fucking thing. So we
Yeah.
know, it's very, very quick because they want to show the wolf as little as possible until the end. And we'll get there when we get
Right.
there. But yeah, it's so incredible. But the fact that, and I got to go back to what a great performance it is, the fact that he's just playing like, hi, David, like he's playing it so straight and
So
even
great.
comically, that's
Yes.
adding to the horror of it. I mean, this movie does such an incredible job of balancing those two tones.
No, totally. It really makes the movie because you're like, am I watching a comedy?
Yeah.
There's those moments. But yeah, Rick sculpted that beautifully. I mean, it could have looked like you were saying odd and larger
Yeah.
but I mean granted they shot on film, so which helps in terms of like hiding edges and things, as opposed to like HD cameras now.
Right.
But even knowing that, it's still a really beautifully done makeup. um and yeah, and the progression
Yeah.
that he has
Yeah.
from
Well,
this, because we see him in 3 iterations, right?
yeah, we
We
see him.
have
Yeah, he's clawed up, and then we see him as like he looks green, like he's
more like
decomposing.
zombie green.
He looks more
Yeah.
like a zombie the second time. It's still great makeup. And then when we
Yeah.
see him in the porno theater, he's basically like a
The
skeleton. He's a
puppet.
puppet.
Yeah, which was so I didn't I guess I didn't clock that until I watched it this most recent time.
Mhm.
I guess I just always assumed it was Griffin in there.
Right.
But yeah, it's a puppet, and Griffin is actually he is controlling the mouth.
Yeah.
So when he's saying the line, he's actually moving the mouth, which I think is cool and also very important for the actor to still feel like they're a part of this performance.
Yeah.
Because I imagine, like, you tell an actor, "Oh no, we're replacing you with puppet." I mean that I don't know. I don't know how you would take that news.
Yeah, but well,
You
I yeah, I think him controlling and sort of performing, I can maybe they loop the dialogue after. I'm sure he did it on the day, but I'm sure they
Yeah.
probably got a cleaner take of it after. I don't know. I can't speak to that, but yeah, I think yeah, I mean it's while it's clearly a puppet, the makeup is still incredible,
So good.
it's
It's
so
terrifying.
yeah,
And Rick was saying that, like, it's hard to get that hollowness
mm,
on somebody, like what were you talking about earlier, where you have to really build the makeup up
right,
to get that hollowness, and the whole eye, like one of his eyes is like pretty
yeah.
much, the eye socket's pretty much gone. So I think it was a wise choice for back then for them to do it that way. I think it works. It's still, I mean, it still grosses me out.
Yeah, and you were mentioning shooting on film. I watched this on Blu-ray, and the effects, the makeup still looks
But
incredible. It
yeah,
because
yeah.
there are. I remember when HD was starting to happen, and a friend of mine made this really great point, and it sort of opened my eyes to it. He was watching one of the Star Trek movies, like one of the old Shatner ones, and he said like, like you'd see a spaceship and you'd see like the edges of the matte painting, and that's not like bad effects work. They just didn't anticipate that there would be HD televisions. So
Yeah.
sometimes effects, just by virtue of time and high definition, just don't look as sharp as they used to. But I think the makeup in this looks really
It holds
incredible.
up.
It holds
Yeah.
up, and this is 45 years old, and
Yeah.
I
Yeah.
I think if they had yeah, I just think that that's such a testament to the craft here, and, yeah, so he goes from yeah, so he becomes the puppet, and that's great. There's even a cutaway that I love. I think it's when he's in the apartment, when Jack shows up in the apartment. His hands, thank you.
Have that note on my page. It's so good. It's just one shot of his hands.
I'm
And
glad Ali mouthed his hands, by the way. We didn't lose sound there. She just got excited and held up her hands. I wrote down, love the cutaway of Jack's decomposing hands. It's in the apartment, right? Where he's sitting down.
yeah. Oh, it's so well done. It's like you see the tendon in his index finger. It's like it's I'm like, how did he do? I don't know. Rick, how did you do it? It's beautifully done.
But I love that the
So good.
cutaway's even there because I could see a director, even if he was, as Landis definitely was, I could see him saying, like, I don't need to cut away the hands. I don't want to waste the time doing it. But I think it's like, oh, this makeup's incredible. I want everybody to see it. I want everybody to see what this kid did. Like and there's no, and I don't want to like do a whole thing where like we zoom in on his hands just to like, because he does some funny cutaways in this a lot. Like there's a scene we're going to get to the transformation scene in a second, but when he cuts to the Mickey Mouse, um, it's like I understand why he's cutting away. He's obviously cutting away because he's covering from one transition part to the other. There's a million
Right.
things he could have cut to, and the fact that he cuts to the Mickey Mouse statue
Mickey Mouse.
is so
So good.
funny and probably not clearable today. But that's a whole other conversation. Um,
I read that John Landis wanted the transformation scene to not be quite so long, but he had a really hard time with that because of exactly what you were saying, how much he loved Rick's work and how
yeah,
beautiful it was and how he just wanted to see it.
well, let's talk
you
about it.
know?
We're here. We've walked up to the bell.
Yeah.
Let's ring it. I mean, the most famous scene in this movie, justifiably, is the scene where David transforms into a werewolf. It is the best scene in this movie. Not that the movie falls after, but the first line of this movie's obituary is the transformation scene. What I love about it, I mean, there's so much I love about it, is that just how physically painful that probably would be, like your bones stretching. And again, I really got to give it up to David Naughton who sells this because the
So
best
good.
makeup in the world is fucking worthless if you don't have an effective actor.
Yeah.
And he did not become a big movie star or anything off the back of this. I mean, he worked. Any actor who works has a good career. I don't have to tell you, but I really feel like he sells this so well. But just his hand stretching, his ankle stretching, it just looks like such a horrific process meaning the process of you going through that transformation, and
Yeah.
it's, um, I mean, yeah, it's the best scene in this movie. I can't imagine you would disagree with that statement.
No, for sure. It's I mean, it's one of the best scenes in horror cinema, you
Yeah, well,
know?
talk about it, talk about it.
Um, yeah, I mean, I remember hearing John and Rick both talk about the transformation scene, and and how John wanted it to be painful, not like in Wolfman,
Right.
the Universal movie where it's like he's sitting in a chair and we do these transitions, the slow transitions, and he's just kind of sitting there and having this experience. Um, they both were on the same page in wanting it to be something horrifying and painful, which I agree with. Oh my God.
Yeah.
So that I think them sitting down and coming up with this and figuring it out, and then even just with the actor going through the process, I'm sure that that was a really fun thing for the three of them to discuss and discover.
Yeah.
What is the first beat that happens? It's like his head, right? He's David's like,
Oh,
ah,
he starts screaming. He's reading a book, and all of a sudden he's
yeah,
like,
and
"Jesus
sweating.
Christ!" And he just rips his clothes
Yeah,
off. And yeah, I mean, it would be such. It's interesting because, like, obviously, this is. I love when movies examine what would this really be like. Like what would it actually be like to go through this thing that is impossible or fanciful or whatever. And I love those details. This movie is one of the best examples of that ever in terms of like,
yeah,
what would it actually be like? Not just the physical transformation, but like, oh, then you wake up and you're naked and like, you have to
yeah.
navigate that. You wake up in a
New
fucking
place.
zoo and and that's where the
Right.
comedy goes through. And it's like, okay, now I'm naked and I'm in the London Zoo and I got to figure
Yeah.
out a way to get home. And, I don't know how he swings the bus fare unless buses in London are free.
Too. I was like, is he just are we just ignoring the fact that he has no money? Like we just let it go.
I mean, yeah, I don't bump on it, but I did have that. I'm like, well, he doesn't have any. He didn't like steal a dude's like pants where there could be like some like change in
Wallet.
there or something.
Yeah.
I'm sure that came up, and either the buses in London are free, which I doubt, or
Or he looks so crazy that they're like, we're not gonna question him.
yeah, like a guy
He's
walks
naked
onto a
in a lab
bus.
coat.
Yeah,
Yeah. Not
yeah,
gonna question him.
yeah. I mean,
Um,
but yeah, that's a
yeah.
small thing that I thought about. But yeah, I mean, the transformation. It's what I love about it is. I mean, so many things I love about it is I I I don't remember when I saw this movie for the first time because I saw it when I was very young, and I might not have even seen it in one sitting. My friend,
Yeah.
David Sipkin, who we talked about a little bit off mic, showed me probably the transformation scene first. So I don't have the first time I saw this clear memory of this, but just looking at
Yeah.
it now, though, what I love is you're seeing all this great effects, and you're seeing his face, and it's covered in hair, and he's got like the fangs and stuff, and you're like, okay, that's cool. But then the shot, which I think is my favorite shot in the
Oh,
whole movie, where he puffs out and turns into the wolf, I think is
yes.
incredible because up to that point you're like, okay, cool, but they're gonna cut around the fact that his face is gonna transform into something completely different, and it's like, nope, we're gonna see
They
his
just go
face.
for it.
We're gonna
Yeah.
see his face. Like they thought about every
Every
detail of this. You could see
yeah.
that, like you said a minute ago, you could see Landis and Baker sitting down probably multiple times and talking about like, okay, what would this be like? What are the steps?
Yeah.
What has never been shown before? What are we going to see? I mean, it's incredible that we get this in the thing in a 1 year period. Like the thing is a year
God.
later. And
Insane.
yeah, and just the fact that it's such a high watermark for makeup and also just gore, just like good old
Yeah.
fashioned gore,
Yeah.
because if you look at, I mean, I don't have to tell you, like, well, let me ask you this. I'm talking to a makeup artist. Why? I have a theory about this. This is a bit of a tangent, but I want to pick your brain because you're the expert. Why in old movies does blood look just like either red, like bright red paint? Like if someone gets shot in a movie, like French Connection, there's a scene where a dude
Right.
gets shot and it's like bright red paint. Why? Why?
I I think it has to do with whoever allows ratings of films or
Mm.
things to be released, I think that if it's too realistic, it gets a worse rating. Not a worse rating, but like a
Harder
more
rating.
extreme rating. I could be incorrect on that.
That's my theory
Um,
as well. That's my theory. So I'm
right.
glad you that's my theory because I remember the DP of Taxi Driver talking about how in the Bloodline movie looks great, but they had to desaturate the colors at the end to avoid an X rating. So
Yeah,
I think you're onto
yeah.
something there.
And I will say movies prior to that even, they might just not have a good mix for blood.
Right.
Um, you know, we've come a long way with what we use and the chemistry behind it and ingredients and stuff. Um, but I mean, it also could read a little different in person than it does on camera. We're so blessed now that we have monitors
Right.
and we even look at stuff on our phones. They
Sure.
have apps now. But you know, something that you're looking at in real life could read as the perfect red, but then, you know, it gets developed and things happen and it's altered, or you know, it looks a little different. Um, but yeah, but I feel like my gut is telling me that it has to do with the rating and making it look too real is too scary, you know.
I think you're
That's
right. That's was sort of my theory
I
and
feel like with this movie, majority of the blood looks really, really good. I feel like there was maybe like one or two moments where I was like, it's a little orangey,
oh,
maybe.
really?
But overall, I feel like they did a pretty good job,
Well, I
you
think this
know?
movie, I mean, because I think because we're seeing, we're post such a rigid rating system. I mean, this movie's R, but it was so comfortably R because there's nudity and sex and stuff.
Right.
There's not even really
Right.
sex in this movie, but there's just a lot of nudity. But yeah, I don't know that this was a battle. I just wanted to ask. I wanted to ask somebody in the know.
Sure.
um,
There's the bladders on his back that they do,
the what? I'm
like
sorry.
like the growing bumps and stuff.
Mm,
It's just I saw a behind the scenes picture of that, and there's like I think Rick had like a team of 5 or 6 really young kids that were just fans of his that wanted to come and work with him. And there's like all these tubes running
yeah.
from the back of David, and you know, kids blowing the bladders to make them move. I mean, that's so smart. Rick had worked on Altered States
Right.
with Dick Smith, which I don't know if you've seen Altered States. I watched it recently for the first time ever with my dad. Holy crap, the makeup. If you like it, I highly recommend it. It's so good. The makeup was just groundbreaking in that movie too, but a lot of bladder work.
Mm,
So I imagine that Rick, you know, called up Dick and was like, you know, help me out with this.
yeah.
But uh, but yeah, and the hand growing and the
Yeah.
feet
Yeah.
and the shot. I think there's a shot, like an overhead shot of him laying down and his body is like extra elongated.
Yeah.
I think if I'm not incorrect, they had somebody manning the legs.
Yeah.
There's like a hole under the set.
I think he's half in the ground, half out. I think
Yes.
Naughton might be coming through a trap, so the top is him. I think the legs, like the old magician saw the lady in half trick. I think the legs are not him, meaning like it's a
Okay,
separate
there's something like a
mechanism.
puppeted. Yeah. But I mean, it looks so
It looks
real and
great.
so crazy and so painful.
Yeah. Um, what I love, so as great as this scene is, and it's the best scene in the movie really starts to slap right after that too. The kills that we see,
Mhm.
the subway station scene is my second
Oh,
favorite scene in this movie
so good.
because it's
It's so
so
scary.
creepy. I don't know if you've ever been to London, but I've been in some of those underground stations. They have not changed. Um,
Oh,
I mean,
wow.
I'm sure there's technology and things that have changed, but they're like these sort
Right.
of tight tunnels, and there are a lot of
Mhm.
people. They're crowded. And when I went to London, um, the first time I went to London, and even the second time I actually went there on my honeymoon, I thought about American Werewolf in London. I was there like with a full crowd. I wasn't there late at night, but I think even the stop that he's on, it's like Tottenham Road. I don't know London very well, but I think I've actually been in that stop. But they
Wow.
all look kind of the same, meaning they all have like those tight tunnels and those escalators and
Yeah.
very clean. but a lot of posters and things around. But I think that scene kind of encapsulates what's so great about the movie because it's really, really creepy. We're still
Mhm.
not seeing the wolf. We've seen him turn into the wolf, but we haven't. It's weird because like we see this transition, but he's still treating the finished wolf like the shark in Jaws. Like
Yes.
we don't get a really good look at it until the end when we're gonna get there when
Yes.
we get there. But what I love is, you know, he was living in London when he wrote the script, and
Mhm.
he really wanted it to be in London, and I think one of the reasons, and I'm sort of extrapolating or concluding here, is I think that the British affect is such a huge part of this movie. Like, I think the fact that it's in London, I mean, it adds to sort of the Jack the Ripper universal creepiness of it. But I love the actor. I don't know his name in this subway where he's like, "I can assure you, I don't find this funny in the slightest." You know, it's like it's
Yeah.
such like a British response to this. Yeah,
Yeah.
it's just like I would have just legged it out of there, which he eventually does. I mean, the guy's not an idiot. I mean, but but the it's so effective with him running up the tunnels and stuff and the camera but the creepiest shot is where he falls on the
On the
escalator and then you just see the wolf walk up and we're pretty far away from it and cuz that was a big fight is that Landis did not want a standing werewolf. He wanted it to be a wolf on all fours. And there's
Yes.
another movie that I'm sure
Yes.
you know called was The Howling the same year.
Uh-huh. Yeah.
And I think Bottin did that one, right?
I think you're right.
But that's a stand-up werewolf,
Yeah. Yeah.
Joe Dante film. So that's two wolf movies in there might even been a third one. This is David Sitkin screaming at his phone right now. But I like that the wolf is not it's an
Yeah, it's
animal.
Robert.
It's okay, it was Rob Bottin, I was right.
I had to look it up. I was dying.
I think Baker started working on The Howling and had to leave. And I think he handed it off to Rob Bottin.
Okay.
So I think Baker did have a small hand in that movie, or he'd started working on it. But what I love is that the wolf is not a wolf man; it's a fucking wolf. It's an animal on
Yeah.
all fours, and I think that that's a little scarier to me because it's like it's more monstery. Does that make sense?
Realistic. Yeah, 100%. Yeah.
Um,
Do you know how they did that?
no, tell me.
Okay, yes, Rick and John were having that conversation of having it, with the forelegs and everything, and Rick was trying to figure it out, and his mind went to wheelbarrow racing
Mm.
with, like where you hold the person's legs and they walk with their arms. So basically, how they did it is they had a performer, I think the guy was a dancer. Um, he was in the front with the wolf makeup on and using his arms, and basically his body was laying on a plank, and there was these legs, the hind legs were being puppeteered, and he was being pushed.
Oh wow.
Um, so it's, I mean, the way they shot it, they kind of just had to, shoot around the back end, but it reads really well and really creepy, and like he's moving so agile and fast, and
Yeah.
it's really really well done. It's
Yeah.
very smart.
And I'm a huge fan of which keeping with the Rick Baker thing, I'm a huge fan of the 76 King Kong.
Mm.
I don't know if you're a fan of that, but particular because I think it's the best. It's kind of a hot take. I like it better than the 33, which I do love. I think the
Mhm.
76 is better all the way through.
Okay.
But I love Kong in it, and because Kong is more of a character, he's more expressive, and that was an early Rick Baker movie. I mean, Rick Baker and Carlo Rambaldi, um, and he actually got that job off the back of a movie called Schlock, which was John Landis's first movie.
Yeah.
Because you know that
Marky
movie?
Mark. Yeah.
Because there's some ape work in that, but I think that what I'm trying to say connected to this movie is I think even though it's a werewolf, I think it's such incredible creature design. Like when we finally see him running around Piccadilly Circus, it's like, yeah, it's a wolf, but like it's so fucking scary. Just the way it's
Oh, yeah.
designed. It's such
Pound of hell.
yeah,
Yeah.
but it's not like he gave it extra teeth or extra horns or like even covered it in blood. I mean, it's still it's kind of as genius as the transformation scene is, and it is, obviously, we've gone on and on and on and on about it, and we'll continue to. Um, I do love just the straight up and down creature design of the wolf, like when it's finished, when we actually see
Yeah.
it in Piccadilly
Yeah.
Circus, and that really reminded me watching it, the climax when it's just running around Piccadilly Circus, kind of like attacking people. It did remind me of King Kong, you know? It's like loose in this iconic city. Obviously, the scale is smaller. There's not like airplanes attacking it and stuff. But I love that the climax of this movie is just this thing running around a neighborhood in London and cops chasing it and people screaming and cars crashing and
Oh, dude, it's utter chaos. The inspector's head gets you know
yeah.
chopped off and thrown onto the hood of the car. It's crazy.
Want to talk about we've talked about David Naughton and we've talked about Griffin Dunn. I want to talk about Jenny Agutter, um, who I think is really good in this movie and I think kind of classes it up. Um,
Yeah, totally. She's great.
she's
I love
really
her
great.
chemistry with David.
She's got
I
she's got great chemistry with him, and obviously she's like a very well trained actress. I think David Naughton told this story that he had lived in London, I think, as a student a couple
Mhm.
years before, and he was working as like an usher or something in a theater in London, and she was on stage in a production, and so he had like a crush on her, and he had no idea that X amount of years later he'd be, like her boyfriend in a movie.
Wow, that's crazy.
Yeah, and I
That
think
is
yeah,
crazy.
yeah, can you imagine?
God.
But I
Oh,
but I think that, I think if I were to read this script and there's no way to know this because even if I were to read the script, I have the movie in my head, but, like, if I read the script and either hadn't seen the movie or the movie hadn't been made yet, more to the point, I might have the note of, "Well, gee, she's taking this guy home, like, from the hospital. That seems crazy, maybe even dangerous," but I don't have that watching the movie because I think, like you said, their chemistry is so good, and
yeah,
like, I
yeah,
totally buy it, and it's not just it doesn't feel like, "Oh, well, she's this beautiful woman, so of course we gotta, like, get her into this." I think that,
right.
she's doing a lot with a role that, you know, is kinda perfunctory, and maybe you could
Mhm.
say that about all their parts with maybe the exception of I don't know how much Griffin Dunn improvised or but yeah, I just think that Jenny Agutter great, and I think she's particularly great, at the end where she's, like, walking down the alley, it's that whole Beauty
Mm,
and the Beast thing, and
yeah,
I'm invested in that, and I wouldn't be if I didn't buy the relationship, and
yeah,
I didn't I mean, I don't like, when he says it is like he's like, "Oh, I love you." I'm like, I don't know that I buy that. Not that he's lying. I don't think we're meant to take it as these 2 are, like, meant for each other. I think that, like, he's this young kid, she's this beautiful woman. I think he's definitely into her and cares about her, but I don't think we're meant to see this so much as like, oh, this great love story. I think they do have chemistry and care for each other, but again, all that's to say that like I am totally invested in her walking down that alley, when he's sort of like backed
yeah.
into the when well not he, when the wolf is backed into that alley. I think that just really did that work for you?
Their whole relationship works for me. I think there are these beautiful moments trickled throughout the movie where we see her initial attraction to him when he's asleep in the
Yeah.
bed. And, she's always wanting to check on him, and they have that cute little scene where, he's still in the hospital and she comes in and, she's got the pills and she's like, "Don't make me look bad. Yeah,
Yeah.
you're supposed to take these after you've eaten your breakfast or whatever."
Right.
And she's on the bed with him and they have this little back and forth, and I don't know, I thought the casting was really well done. I
Mm.
thought their chemistry was great. I enjoyed watching them fall in love
Yeah.
on screen.
Do you think they fall in
Yeah,
love? Do you think I'm mischaracterizing it?
I feel like it happens very fast.
Yeah.
But I think with the writing, there's the parallel with like there's a moment where he's telling her the story about the Wolfman where he's like, "I think I'm a werewolf." And in the movie, the Wolfman movie, the only way that you can kill him is if somebody that truly loves you or
Right.
breaks the rules or whatever is the one that kills you.
Right.
You know. So they kind of they tie that back in at the end with the "I love you" and everything, which I liked it. I mean, I like that. I like stuff like that, little callbacks.
Yeah.
Um, but but yeah, I mean, I was along for the ride. I buy it.
Okay.
It's
Good.
young, they're like college age, you know.
Well, she's a little older, but yeah, yeah. I
He
didn't
is,
bump on it
but
like I thought he was lying. I guess I just recognized it as a middle aged man of like, oh, this kid thinks he's in love, and that's fine. It's sweet, but he's also so traumatized. Like she's the only thing that like, the only sort of life raft and like the sea
that
of
he
what he's
has
going through.
her.
What's that?
Yeah, he's so isolated. He's away from his family. He doesn't know anybody else in the city. His best friend is dead, you know.
Yeah, this
Yeah,
is
she's yeah, for
yeah.
sure.
There's a scene I like where he calls home. And I just think it's really beautifully shot. He gets in the call box and
Mm,
he's
mhm.
calling home, and it's almost one shot. He doesn't cut for a long time. It just like kind of pans around the box, so it gets closer to him, and you just see like kind of the lights around him. And I just thought that image you mentioned a second ago, like isolation. I just feel like wow, they don't belabor it, but this really would be just like a horrifying thing to go through emotionally, forgetting the physical pain of becoming a werewolf, but just like because you're right, he's not in his hometown.
Yeah.
He's in a foreign country. Um, I think he gravitates to her. Of course, she's very beautiful, but it's also like she's the only one who shows him any kindness. Like the
Yeah.
asshole, Frank Oz, who I love, is such a total fucking asshole. From the American embassy, and
Yeah. Yeah.
Frank Oz shows up in a lot of John Landis's movies as an actor. He's in
Uh-huh. Uh-huh.
Trading Places. He's in Spies Like Us. In fact, it's funny in later John Landis movies, he will put a lot of directors and give them like speaking parts. Like Jim Henson pops up in Into the Night. I don't even know if you've ever heard of that movie.
I haven't seen it.
Yeah, it's kind of like After Hours, but like the LA version. It's the exact same
Okay.
year. It's Jeff Goldblum and a very young Michelle Pfeiffer.
Okay.
A lot of directors have roles in that. In Spies Like Us, there's one scene where it's literally like Joel Cohen and like Sam Raimi, and they don't say anything like Terry Gilliam. It's a really funny thing, like
Our little cameos.
just
Huh.
directors in cameos, and like it's not a great movie, but in Beverly Hills Cop 3, John Singleton has a cameo in it, and George Lucas too. So it's just the thing he does. It's weird, not weird. It's just kind of funny. But this movie doesn't quite, except for Frank Oz, who might not have been a director yet, but obviously he was Yoda and Fozzie and all that. It was already going on. Um, but I think another thing about this movie that I love, and I just love that when it's over, it's fucking over. Like he
Yeah,
gets killed and it's over 3 seconds later.
dude, I noticed that when I rewatched it recently, I was like, "Whoa." It just and that's we're done. You don't get any more.
And his quote on it was really, really interesting. I think either in the commentary on the DVD, he said somewhere, he's just like, yeah, it's over. Like, that's why it ends that way, because it's just over. And I
Yeah.
think I wrote down, this is the least dragged out ending maybe of all time. Like,
Yeah.
there's no epilogue, there's no scene of Jenny Agutter, I forget her name, but the character's name, but Jenny Agutter walking down the street. What is it?
Uh-huh.
Alex. Thank you.
Yeah.
Alex. Um, and there's so many movies, I'm sure we could spend an hour rattling them off. We won't, of movies that overstay their welcome, whether
Yeah.
it's they go on 20 minutes too long or they go on one scene too long and kind of undercut. I mean, you and I could throw movies back and forth like that. Um,
Yeah.
back then and now. And I just love that this movie ends at the precise moment that the story ends.
Yeah.
Well, let me ask you this. Is Rick Baker the most famous makeup artist, the best? Like, where is Rick Baker as far as makeup artists like yourself? When you guys talk about, is he your John Lennon, your Spielberg, your Scorsese, your Babe Ruth? Talk to me about Rick Baker, just in general. You don't mind?
I mean, he's amazing. He's groundbreaking. Think him and Rob Bottin are like and Dick Smith. I mean,
Yeah.
they just innovative and did things that nobody had done before, you know? And I think that's what makes them so impressive. And we still to this day use methods that they created and discovered and, you know. But yeah, I mean, in terms of talent and body of work, those three are definitely up there. I'm a big fan of V. Neil, just from like a girl power perspective. Um,
What has she done?
but
Tell people what she's done, so they might not
oh
know.
my gosh. Okay, The Lost Boys. Have you ever seen The Lost Boys?
Oh yeah, I've seen Lost Boys.
Yeah.
Great makeup in that.
She did Danny DeVito in Batman, the Penguin makeup.
Oh, cool.
Yeah, I mean, I feel like just from a female perspective, like she was there when it was a boys' club, and she kind of paved the way for a lot of women in this industry. Stigmata, Hook. She worked on Hook. Edward Scissorhands, duh, Edward
Wow.
Scissorhands. She worked on Dick Tracy, which I don't know if you've seen.
Oh, I love Dick
makeup.
Tracy. Yeah.
They're like mind blowing.
Amazing. Yeah.
Beetlejuice, obviously.
Oh, wow.
Iconic. Yeah, I mean, her body of work is just insane. But yeah, just hearing, I remember listening to a podcast she did where she just talked about getting started, and it was just very much a boys' club at that time.
Yeah.
Because the makeup industry was all men back in the day when things first started. But yeah, she's so talented, special effects and beauty makeup. But yeah, getting back to Rick Baker, I mean, like this movie, I feel like just so many new things that we hadn't seen, specifically in the transformation scene. This movie and The Thing, like for whatever reason, growing up really stuck with me.
Yeah.
In terms of makeup.
Is there any other? This is something I've asked on every 1981er. So in one makeup, obviously is well deserved. Are there any other Oscar nominations you would give this? You don't have to give it the award, but is there any other? Could be anything.
Well, I think horror movies in the running for Best Picture, I feel like the first time that we really even had that was Silence of the Lambs, right?
So,
like,
do you consider that a horror movie? Because
yeah.
I think that's one that I'm debating on. Do you consider Silence of the Lambs horror?
I feel like there's an argument with that one all the time. I consider it a horror movie.
Okay.
I mean, I feel like a lot of people associate like there's got to be like boobs and sex and, you know, blah, blah, blah.
Right.
But not necessarily. There is some gore in that movie.
Right.
There is some beautiful makeups in that movie.
Yeah.
There is a horrifyingly scary bad guy in that movie.
Right.
You know, there's two. I mean, Hannibal Lecter is scary. I never really think about him as the bad guy.
So you mean Buffalo Bill? You're referring to Buffalo Bill then?
Buffalo Bill, yeah. You know, he's terrifying.
Yes.
And Hannibal Lecter's terrifying too, but I guess
well, he's charming in a way that Buffalo Bill isn't. Yeah, he's elegant and I mean, that's interesting. This is something we'll obviously debate whenever we get to the Silence of the Lambs episode. But because if Silence of the Lambs is a horror movie, then that's the only horror movie to win Best Picture. I also think a thriller has never won, which Silence of the Lambs would qualify as one or the other.
It's kind of a mesh of both.
Yeah, so maybe it's a twofer.
Yeah.
Well,
I don't know. I feel like I've heard this argument so many times about that movie, but I personally consider it a horror movie.
Yeah. Well, maybe I'll have to have you on that episode when we cover it, and we can talk about that.
Oh yeah, I'm so down. I love that movie. Again, another one that I rewatch around Halloween almost every year. It's because it's so good. The acting is so good. The directing is so good. Everything is just so. It's just like, and I can watch it and be like, yes, I can see why that won Best Picture.
Yeah, and
all around, it's just so good.
So Ali, where can people find you if they want to find you?
Where can you find me? I am on Instagram.
Ali's Instagram, by the way, I hate to interrupt, but Ali's Instagram is my favorite Instagram ever because she does these incredible Halloween costumes. And I've shown my wife and other people, like, you got to see this, you got to see this. And I'm not even on Instagram that much, but if you don't, I'd rather you follow her on Instagram than listen to this show, because actually I want you to do both. That's bullshit. But her Instagram is so incredible because she does, I mentioned in her intro that Halloween is her favorite, but she does these incredible costumes. The one you did of Pinhead.
Oh yeah, that was so long ago. I need to redo it. This is one of my
Oh,
favorite things though, is when I do like a makeup and then years later I'm like, oh my God, I could do it so much better. Let me do it again, you know?
yeah. And then you were Planet of the Apes. What's the woman's name?
Yeah,
Zor.
Zira for Halloween. We did a family costume, and I was Zira, and my husband was just a human, one of
Right.
the bearded humans, and then my son, we put him in a little astronaut costume as Charlton Heston's character. So that was fun.
Yeah, and this makeup, I mean, she could walk on the set of Planet of the Apes and in 1968, and probably the makeup's probably better now than it was then. I'm sure that's a big movie for you, but yeah, so
Sure.
definitely check out her Instagram. Anything else you want to? Where else can people find you, or do you want to just keep it to that?
I'm Ali Ali_Bayless BAYLESS on Instagram. You can find me on IMDb, Ali Bayless on IMDb. I don't really do Twitter or TikTok,
That's fine.
which I've heard I should do TikTok, but it's just like one more thing that I'm like,
Yeah. Um, you can find me on Letterboxd under Edward Clow. You can find me on Script Revolution. You can find some short films I've done on Vimeo. Ali did the makeup for one of them. So
Oh
if
my
you
God,
want,
one of my first jobs ever. I don't know if you knew that,
no,
but
I
like,
didn't. That was one of your first jobs?
oh my God, I guess I like played it off.
I
One
did
of my
not know
first jobs
that.
ever.
Wow. Well, you did an incredible job, and can't wait to work with you again. Hopefully, it'll be sooner rather than later. Ali, that was a great chat. Thank you so much.
Thanks for having me. This was so fun. Let me know if you want to do it again. This was a
I will
blast.
definitely have you back. That's our show. Next week, Alan Foreman and I get into another 1981er, The Great Muppet Caper. Till then, looking forward to looking back.